Hi, I'm Jean Andrus, the Menopause Guru, and I'd like to welcome you to this recording of the Just Chill Hangout from Tuesday, July 12th. I recorded it that night, messed up the recording, re-recorded it, messed that up. So we're going to try again. So this afternoon, I want to talk to you about hot flashes. We're talking about hot flashes as I am just finishing up the creation of the book Chill Out, and it's been a real journey for me. I've put together a lot of stuff that I knew before, looked up a few things that I've never known before, and I've created what I think is a really, really good book for you guys. It's just finishing its first draft now. So I want to give you some of the highlights of the book. This is not by any means even a tenth of all the stuff that I put in the book, but I really would love to give you some highlights about what the book is going to include. The book is due out on September 1st, and if you'd like to read it early, please let me know. I'll be giving you that email address a little bit later on in the presentation so that you can let me know that you'd like to read it early, and I'll put you on the list, send you a copy just as soon as it gets through the basic editing and formatting that has to happen between now and the 1st of September. Just want to tell you also that we have another presentation, another hangout coming up this Wednesday evening. It's also at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Pacific time. The topic this week is insomnia and fatigue, another hot topic for women in menopause. And for me, it's one of the key things for telling where you are in menopause, what's going on in your body, because how you don't sleep, if you don't sleep, is really indicative of what's going on in your body. So this Wednesday night, Wednesday, the 20th of July, which is also my husband's birthday and my son's anniversary, so I'm reminding myself there. We're going to be doing that hangout, and I hope you'll join in for my presentation that night. Let me get started on hot flashes. Hot flashes was one of the big topics, and I did a little presentation. I'm going to send you the presentation with this recording, and it's just sort of an outline to talking points, and it'll give you a hint of what's coming up in the book. So I'm going to share my screen, find that PowerPoint slideshow. Let's see if that's it. Here we go. Hot flashes, night sweats, and cold flashes. These are together the vasomotor symptoms of menopause. Vaso meaning blood vessel, and motor meaning movement. So these all talk about how blood moves through our body. These are the only vasomotor symptoms that I have been able to find. So it's just a fancy word for hot flashes. So let's talk about hot flashes. Where do they come from? What's really going on? Hot flashes pretty much happen when estrogen is dropping. So for some women, that doesn't happen until they start skipping periods on a fairly regular basis. For other women, they actually lose estrogen early on, but their estrogen is so much more than their progesterone, and maybe they've had a bit more estrogen to begin with, so they have hot flashes while they're still having periods. It's quite possible for that to happen. Lots of women don't have it till late in perimenopause when they're starting to skip periods. And if you don't know that whole stuff, that's the stuff I talk about in I Just Want to Be Me Again. And that's a great place to go to get that information. It's a lot of information to digest, and I do it fairly often, but it's a good place to go and get that information again. So what happens? dropping estrogen is affecting the hypothalamus, which is a gland in our brain that regulates, or an area in our brain that actually regulates temperature. And it has a range of temperatures that it thinks are normal. And what happens is that as estrogen drops, scientists believe that the hypothalamus loses track of what really is normal for you. And it thinks that that range has shrunk. So it thinks that you're cold earlier, and it thinks that you're hot earlier. So anything that happens to increase your temperature can push you over that threshold at which the hypothalamus thinks it needs to do something to cool you down. What it does in terms of hot flashes, it increases your circulation, and that causes you to sweat. And the evaporating sweat is what cools you down. Okay, that's really all well and good, except that it kicks your temperature up as it tries to cool you down. So that's what they think is going on with hot flashes. Nobody's really completely sure, I guess, because they can't dissect you while you're having them. So let's talk about what night sweats are. Night sweats are the same thing. Your body is too hot, and it's often from not moving while we sleep. So you're underneath the covers are keeping you warm, they're keeping the air around you from moving, and that keeps you warm at night. But because your hypothalamus is taking that as being too warm, you get into the night sweat situation. Cold flashes. The trigger is the same. Your hypothalamus thinks you're too warm, but instead of increasing the blood flow, it constricts the blood flow, which makes you feel cold. That's the scientific explanation as far as we know about hot flashes, night sweats, and cold flashes. There's 3 ways that we can deal with hot flashes. 3 classes of solution. The first is the medical, and we're going to talk about pharmacological or drug therapy, and we're going to talk about supplements. There is no surgical option for hot flashes. It can only make things worse. We can also talk about short-term solutions, how to prepare for and handle a hot flash. And the final thing we'll talk about is some longer-term fixes for hot flashes. So let's talk about the medical stuff for a few minutes. HRT, estrogen replacement, and progesterone if you've got a uterus. By the way, if you don't have a uterus, you still need progesterone. Your doctor just thinks that you don't, possibly. And it's also, it's not unsafe. It is unsafe to take estrogen without progesterone if you've got a uterus. You wouldn't if you had a hysterectomy. Why would you want to take HRT? In the context of this discussion, we're going to talk about synthetic and bioidentical hormone replacement in the same breath. There are differences, but there are some similarities here as well. Why would you want to take it? First of all, it's relatively quick and effective. So it's going to make a quick change in the way you're perceiving your hot flashes. They'll go down, you'll have fewer, you'll have less intense hot flashes. Some women don't get full relief, by the way. And that's really good if your hot flashes are at the point of keeping you from being able to live your life. And that actually does happen for some people. It usually has to do with their job and what they have to do. But if the hot flashes are so bad that you're not able to go to work, not able to get your work done, or you're so irritable and miserable at home that you're not living a full life, then estrogen, HRT, bioidentical or synthetic, is not a bad solution. There are two things, though, that we have to watch out for. The first is cancer risks. Not everyone can take HRT, and the range of people who are not able to take it is getting bigger all the time, it seems. So if somebody has told you you can't take HRT, or somebody in your family, a close family member, has had breast cancer, in particular, you probably don't want to be taking estrogen. The second thing that you have to watch out for with HRT is there's a rebound effect. And this means that if you take HRT for any time, any length of time, when you go off it, most women experience a rebound. Not everyone, and sometimes for some women it's less severe, and for some women it's more severe. But you don't know how that's going to affect you. So HRT may be a short-term solution as well. You may only be able to stay on it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on your doctor. But then when you come off, you'll have all those symptoms that you were putting off. The second class of drugs are antidepressants. And these antidepressants range from one that's designed strictly at a dosage strictly for hot flashes to things like Prozac and other antidepressants, other selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, that you might be on for another reason and find that it actually helps you with your hot flashes. Some doctors will prescribe just for hot flashes. The problem here, of course, is that there's a lot of side effects from antidepressants, and they're highly addictive, and they're very hard to get off of. So, are they the best idea? It's up to you. If your hot flashes are such that you're not getting your life or living your life, you may need to go on something. If you opt for antidepressants, remember that coming off is a medical procedure. You need to work with your doctor to get off of those antidepressants. It can be very dangerous just to quit. The last give me something kind of fix that I want to talk about are the phytoestrogens and the herbal supplements. You'll see these anywhere from brand names like Estroven and Ambien to going to an herb shop and getting things from the herb shop, even to essential oils. There's a couple of good essential oils that do help with menopausal symptoms. So let's start with, they're basically two types. There's the phytoestrogens, which are the plant-based estrogens, which is where the bioidentical hormones come from. They're distilled from plant-based estrogens. These can't be taken by women who have the same risks of breast cancer as HRT, as not taking HRT. So when you go out and you look at an Ambien, or you look at a Estroven, or one of these other over-the-counter medications, if you see black cohosh, or if you have been diagnosed with breast cancer or had close relatives, don't take these things. Talk to your doctor first, because your risks may be just as bad with these things. The other side of the coin is some non-phytoestrogen plants. And I found basically that there are 4 of these. 2 of them sound pretty good. 2 of them carry fairly high risks. The 4 are, and they come from different areas of the world, Dong Quai, which is Chinese and comes from Chinese medicine, Evening Primrose, which comes from the Native American culture, Kava Kava, which comes from the Oceania region, the islands in the South Pacific, and finally maca root, which is grown in the Andes in Peru, up very high up. And the last 2 have some preparation issues. So if you're interested in those, you really, really, really want to work with an herbalist who knows what they're talking about, these guys. Evening Primrose doesn't seem to have the same kinds of side effects as Kava Kava and maca in some instances. So that one seems pretty good. The third one, Dong Quai, also has some breast cancer. Some early research shows that it may have some breast cancer implications. The biggest thing is none of these herbals have been proven terribly effective in clinical trials. Does that mean they're not? Who knows? I would take an herbal personally before I'd go and take estrogen replacement or an antidepressant, but that's me. And I'm not going to recommend it to you specifically. I would suggest that if you're interested, talk with an herbalist, talk with a good herbalist, and if you need one, let me know. I know plenty. So what's the short-term solutions? These short-term solutions are to deal with a flash that's happening now or to stop flashes from happening without being able to really make a long-term change. So the number one method to stop a hot flash, breathing, relaxing in the moment. So you're going to be able to take a deep breath in and let out all the tension. And you're going to do this several times because you're going to want to slow your heartbeat down and stop letting all of that blood going rushing to your skin and creating the sweat. That's to stop one in the moment. Breathing relaxes you. It takes the pressure off, takes the stress down, slows your heart rate, slows the blood pressure, lowers the blood pressure. All of that slows down the flash that's happening in the moment. Keeping cool. Let's talk about keeping cool. Absolutely. This is the time when you need an air conditioner in the summertime. You may even need one in the winter if you live where I do. But keeping cool is really, really key. I keep a small window air conditioner, the smallest unit you can get, the little tiny ones, in my bedroom. And it's on probably 10 months of the year because sometimes it's just circulating outside air because it keeps things cooler. Sometimes it's actually cooling down the room. I keep things a lot cooler when I'm dealing with a hot flash episode, and sometimes I get them again occasionally, especially when I'm not eating right. We'll talk about that. So keeping cool is really key. Sleeping better also helps hot flashes. That's why I'm going to talk about insomnia next week. But we'll talk about sleep, getting to sleep better, staying asleep better, getting back to sleep better. Dressing cool, being able to take a jacket on and off. Wearing heavy sweaters is something that just sort of stops happening unless you're wearing like a tank top underneath and you can strip it off. Finally, acupuncture and reflexology. These are alternative medicine solutions for hot flashes. Acupuncture, acupressure, and reflexology are helping your body deal with those a little bit. Nobody quite knows how it works, but it does. Something to keep in mind. And our long-term solutions. So long-term solutions take a little while longer to actually implement. They're not going to change things right away. Cleaning up your eating. There are several things that trigger hot flashes, especially alcohol, tobacco, sugar, coffee, hot drinks, hot soup. Things like that actually sometimes trigger hot flashes. So you may want to play around and see if they trigger you. And if they do, you may have to change the way you eat around those. Eating better overall helps you be more healthy, and it seems that the more healthy you are, the better your experience around hot flashes is. You don't have as many, they're not as intense. 2 supplements, nutrition supplements, excuse me, I need to yell at you. Excuse me. Okay, Two supplements that seem to help with hot flashes are omega-3 fatty acids, which omega-3s are supposed to be in balance with omega-6s, and we eat way more omega-6s than we do 3s. So taking supplementation of omega-3 fatty acids is really a good thing for your hot flashes. The other one that seems to work well is vitamin E. Play around with them. See if those are something that help you. Clean eating is always a good thing. I've gone over this before, why we eat clean, why we get rid of the xenoestrogens, the pesticides, and other chemicals in our diet. Important to do. I've gone over the basic reason that we want to eat as clean and nutritiously as possible. There is some discussion about whether or not weight is a factor. It's in the book. I'm not going to go into it right now, but the upshot is there's positives and negatives for having a little bit of extra weight or not having any extra weight at all. Exercise, better tolerance, gives you better tolerance of your hot flashes because I guess you're raising your temperature so often that your body becomes more adjusted back to a more normal range. It also promotes greater relaxation and it is connected with having fewer hot flashes. Relaxing into it. I teach my clients meditation, I teach them mindfulness, I teach them other stress reduction habits and practices in order to allow them to relax and not get uptight and crazy when the hot flash happens, because that's what really gets things going in sort of everything compounds. Finally, I talk about understanding the message of hot flashes. Hot flashes often have a meaning, and the meaning can be very personal to you. For me, my hot flashes generally come when I've got a lot going on and I've got a lot of energy happening. Even when I'm doing Reiki, what I find is that I can flash just from working with the energy of Reiki. So for me, it's an energetic thing. For other women, it can be embarrassment, anger, feeling stress, just telling them that there's a lot of stress going on in their lives. One woman I worked with even talked about feeling the cleansing fire of her hot flashes, and that it was really burning away the old her and getting her ready for a new self. I've worked with a number of methods to understand this message of hot flashes with myself and with various women that I've worked with. And lately I've created a new process for this. It works with not just hot flashes, but any symptom, any way you're thinking or any way that you're feeling. It's called the somatic conversation, and it's a chance for you, your brain, your mind, to step away from your body and actually dialogue with your body. Most of the time when we ask ourselves, how are we feeling? We're interpreting that through our brain. But in the somatic conversation, I've been able to create a process by which the dialogue happens and the body is actually allowed to speak for itself. What you do is you get a very clear message without the interpretation that our minds want to add to that. This is a new offering for me, and I'm offering it right now for people on my list and a few other select people for a very, very special price. It's not going to once the book goes live, for sure it will not be at this price. I'm offering a limited number of these, and I'd love to have you join me in a somatic conversation with your body to find out what the messages of menopause are for you. Right now, you can see on the screen the HTTP Menopause Guru Somatic Convo. You can click on that. You can go to that link, and you'll be able to sign up right there for a somatic conversation with me. It's an incredible experience, and I would love to talk to you more about it. That's all I have. I did get a couple questions the other night when I actually did this live, and so I've incorporated the answers into the presentation as I went through. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps, and I'd love to talk to you more about how to get a great night's sleep coming this Wednesday, July 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, and 5 Pacific time. Looking forward to seeing you then. Thanks.